Welcome to E.H.A.U.S. I'm so glad you tuned in. Before I pick up where we left off, I do want to go over the definition of E.H.A.U.S. As I mentioned in the intro, E.H.A.U.S is a house or a home where the temperature remains the same no matter what's outside. What a better time to think of the word E.H.A.U.S. God wants to be our thermostat. Let God be your thermostat. I know it is a bit concerning. We are a bit apprehensive. This has affected our daily lives as well as our personal lives, some more than others. But let God set your temperature. When I say temperature, I'm thinking of your temperament. God wants us to be temperate during this time. It is our duty to be fearless. It is our duty to be focused and prayerful, but be wise about it. So I just wanted to just say that because I know it's on our minds more than it may should be. We just have to be careful and just be wise. So I'm going to move on in to the beginning of part 2 of our segment, the Brown Brothers story. This is where the Brown Brothers, they see the consequences of their choices, and it affects their lives and their loved one lives. And so I just want you to just be aware that as you look at this, you will see the freedom of choice has been taken away, as well as everything that they were addicted to. What their lives used to be is no longer their lives anymore for even over 16 to 18 years. So check it out. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you back after the interview. E.H.A.U.S.
When they superseded my money laundering indictment, which was really ridiculous to me because every car dealer said that I brought the cars, I brought the money. Then they started locking up people in your family. So a lot of times people think I'm gonna put this house in this person name, I'm gonna put this in that person name. When the feds decide to come get you and they really want to make a statement with you, every person who you got those the vehicles, the houses in their name, the land, they lock them up. And that's probably one of the worst feelings when you steady saying, listen, I did this. They ain't nothing to do with it. And they're like, nah, we don't care nothing about that. We still gonna get them too. And you can't do nothing about it.
And I can't imagine how you felt when that happened. I want to move from part to when it all came down on you.
Yeah.
So I remember something. I don't know the details of it, but I think you first, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happened? I think you riding somewhere.
Yeah, we was coming from Atlanta. So I actually don't know for a fact. I don't think it was a connect that did it. I think it was this guy that who was supposed to be like a best friend to me. What happened was we have another apartment. Somebody came in. I had a fish aquarium. And the fish aquarium was made to hide money and stuff in. So you could see the fish aquarium right here, and you would take and plug it up, and put something on the sides, and it would raise up. And then once you put your money in, it would raise down.
Wow.
So this guy and this dude, like I said, he was supposed to be like a best friend to me. Anyway, he knew where I had moved the fish aquarium in another apartment we had. So when I went to go to the apartment, the fish aquarium was gone. So it was like over maybe close to $250,000, maybe $300,000 in the fish aquarium. So when they got us that night, I truly believe in my heart that, because this was like a week later, he and his family, because I saw his mother and stuff at the trial. So, and from the words that I heard, his mother and them had been saying that they said they gonna give him life anyway. So she went there and was telling stuff about my family members that only he could have told her. So whenever they got us coming from Atlanta, I just came to Durham, and he just came over there to see me, and he knew I was leaving to go home.
Right.
So that's why I believe the stopping everything came from him doing. He knew what he had did,
right.
And they done told him, I guess in conversation, we gonna get life anyway. Excuse me. So that's what I believe happened. Because they had no reason to stop us.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's how it started.
So they stopped you on the highway.
Yeah.
And I cannot imagine what kind of feeling that was. Because, I mean, a lot of people don't know, but tell us how.
Honestly,
you
truly,
stopped here.
when I had a dream, maybe a week before, maybe 2 weeks before, and in the dream, I was in the van, the same van that stopped us in. It was raining. It was going across a bridge, and the van flipped upside down. When the van flipped upside down, and I got out the van, it was another guy in there with me. He dead now. He died. He got sick and died. He was one of my co-defendants. But I was fussing. I was like, man, I told you to slow down, man. I told you to slow down. We got to get up out of here. So when I climbed up to get out the van, I looked, and in all these trees, I saw lines. And I was like, yo, man, don't move. It's a bunch of lines in these trees. Do not move. Be still.
Wow.
We can't get out the van. So the night when they stopped us, it was raining.
Mm-hmm.
The guy was in the van with me. It was 3 of us. Whenever they stopped us and we got out, all you could see is police. It was a big field with nothing but police and blue lights and all the trees going around. And whenever I got out the van, a voice spoke to me just as clear and it said, it's over. They're going to find them drugs in that van. And you finna go to prison.
That right there, and then I remember the time when you got like, and how long did you stay in there before, with just the first part till when Gene Jr., because I know Gene Jr. got arrested.
It came, I think I was in there from, yesterday made 18 years from the date that it happened, February 7th, 2002. So we stayed from February, I think they did the superseding indictment in what, March or April? March. So they superseded their indictment in March.
Okay. And Gene Jr., what was your experience when they came, and did you kind of?
I woke up one morning and Michelle said, who is that out there? And I was asleep and I heard it, and then she went to the door and I heard her say, why y'all pointing those guns at me? And by that time I got up and I looked out the window and it looked like something from a movie, because there was like SWAT with guns across the hoods of the truck, and I'm saying, what in the world is this? I mean, now I've never been in trouble before, nothing. I'm trying to figure out what in the world is going on. I was scared to death. I've never in my life been that afraid. So they took her. King was in the bed, and he was just 2 years old. He had just turned 3. I think he had just turned 3. So he was in the bed asleep. Felicia, I was so afraid that I literally had to go to the bathroom and stayed in the bathroom. At that time I was smoking cigarettes. I think I smoked a pack of cigarettes in 10 minutes, a whole pack, just one after the other. And he was in the bed asleep. I actually tried to sit there and pray that they would leave and just not know that I was in the house. I honestly tried to do that and hope that if I stayed in the house long enough, they would just think that I wasn't here and they would leave. King woke up and he was looking for his mother. He jumped off the bed and I was trying to tell him, just be calm, she'll be back. He jumped down, ran to the door, then he went outside. So they told me to come on out, and I said, I'm afraid y'all gonna shoot me, all y'all out with them guns and whatever. I was scared to death. They ended up going to get the sheriff that I was familiar with. I think it was Jeff Grimm. And they went and got the sheriff, and he was out talking. They talked to me with the bullhorn, and they threw a radio in, and I'm in the house just scared to death. And just laying down on the floor, terrified, because I had never experienced anything like that before. I almost went into shock because I just couldn't fathom what was going on. So after a while, after he talked, and they said, well, come on out, you need to come on out. And I said, well, I'm coming out, but please don't handcuff me. I've never been handcuffed at all. And I said, please don't handcuff me in the back. I don't know why that scared me so bad, but it did. So I asked them that. When I went outside, they handcuffed me in the front. They sat me in the car. and they asked me did I need something to drink. I guess it was like I was about to pass out or something, because they took me to Bible, and immediately they began to interrogate me, and they told me that, kept asking me where are the drugs, and I'm saying to myself, they asked me, are they in the pond? Are they? So I'm saying to myself, well, if he's asking me all these questions, he doesn't know anything, because there's nothing in the house, never was there anything in the house, and they kept asking me that, and I said, well, he don't know. And actually, because I had done something that night and didn't do what I usually do, it was a car that I had that was parked at my dad's house, and there was drugs and money in that car, and it was just because I left it there that night, and the next day I would put it where I usually put it. So when he kept asking me, now, when I left, there were dogs and people all around, but they never went to that car. And I said, well, if they didn't find it, they probably won't find it. When they took me over interrogating me, he said, if I find drugs on your daddy's property, I'm charging him with it. At that point, I don't have a choice. I have to say where it is in his mind, because I can't take that chance. He didn't have anything to do with anything that we ever did, nothing. So when they said that, I said, well, okay, I have to tell them. So I told them where the drugs were, and I told them they were mine. You know that not long after that, they tried to charge him with what I told them was mine in my car. They still tried to charge him with it. So I spent that night in Whiteville, and Antwand and Dion and them were there. And that was the first time in my life that I had ever been in a jail cell, ever in my entire life. I'd never been arrested or in a jail for anything. That was the first time. And it wasn't so bad because they were there. The next morning, they took us to Wilmington. And took all of us to Wilmington. And that is when the nightmare truly began, is when we went to Wilmington. And when we went to Wilmington, and you get something called a PSR, pre-sentence report. And when I got a pre-sentence report back, it tells you, before that, you go to a hearing to see if you're going to get bond or not. So when I go to the hearing, the lady had a court-appointed lawyer at that time, and the lady tells me that, well, because you got this. I said, what are you talking about? I said, I'm a first-time offender. I've never been in trouble before. She said, well, you got selling alcohol in some kind of dwelling. Gene, that lives, Big Head Gene, that lives in this neighborhood. He had all of those charges. He was older than me, younger than my dad, but on purpose, they put that stuff on my record when they said they did a check to make sure that I didn't get out. And I did. And the lady told me, well, we can explain this to the judge. And I said, I'm in an orange jumpsuit, and I'm being charged with selling drugs. And you tell me that because I say it's not me, that's what they're going to believe that? And they did. Do you know, and I'll skip forward a little bit, do you know that I had a court-appointed lawyer first. So I said, I'm going to get a paid lawyer. The lawyer charged me $25,000 to take a plea. To say I'm guilty, he charged me $25,000. Now, that stuff that they put on my record at that time, he never got off. I told him, I said, this stuff that's on my record, he said, well, you didn't get points for it. What they call criminal history points. If they give you points, it gives you more years on your sentence. So if you have a criminal history, then you are in a higher category, you're going to get more time. So I didn't get points for it. So I told him the night before I got sentenced, and I stayed in the county jail for 1 year. He came to see me maybe 2 times in a year, 3 times maybe. The night before I got sentenced, he came to see me, and I said, I told you that this is not me. These charges are not mine. He said, well, you didn't get criminal history point for them. I said, well, what about this? The judge is reading this, and it looks like I've been in trouble all my life and been getting away. Now he's going to sentence me according to what he thinks about me. And you know what he told me? He said, oh, you're right. And they sentenced me. When I came home, a friend of mine has a sister that works at the police department. For $6 and a stamp, I got all that stuff off my record. The lawyer charged me $25,000, and he didn't get it off.
Wow.
So that's just so one. And I'm not saying that anything I did was wrong, because I put myself in harm's way. But the federal system and the judges are corrupt for the most part, from what I've seen. And I used to say, and I hear people say, well, the federal government can't do this. From what I've seen and experienced, the federal government can do just what they want to do if you put yourself in harm's way. Just what they want to do. So that was the beginning. And my court-appointed lawyer told me I got a PSR back that said 10 to life. That was the range that I looked at. 10. I said 10 years. She said 10 years is the less you're gonna do, and you won't do any more than life. And I said, how can that possibly be? I've never been in trouble before. And the federal government has a 98 or 97 point something conviction rate in drug cases. So she told me that. I think I talked to her first, and after I talked to her is when I went and got a paid lawyer, because I'm like, this is a court-appointed lawyer, but what she's talking about, this can't be right. So that's what it was. And then the first PSR I got back said 17 to 22 years. And then they narrowed it down to what I was going to be looking at. And do you know that the prosecutor tried to give me a obstruction of justice charge because I stayed in the house so long and didn't come out? When I got that on my PSR, it put my time up about 4 or 5 years. In county jail, I sat down and wrote from the minute I opened my eyes, absolute truth, to the time I went outside and sent it to the probation people. Once they saw what I wrote, they took it off. They sent me a different PSR and they took it off. At sentencing, the prosecutor tried to put that enhancement back on me again. I sat down to the table to be sentenced. And my lawyer said, look at this. The prosecutor says that if you say anything about the drug amount, if you get up and try to contest anything at all, she's going to say that you held your son hostage in the house with a gun and had the paperwork on the table. And I said, you know what? At that point, I didn't have anything to lose. I said, this is my life. And she can threaten me all she wants to, but that was the tactic that she used to try to stop me from getting. I got up on the stand and told that same story to the judge that I wrote down to, and he wouldn't let them put that enhancement on me. But I was already guilty, and I already pled guilty. But still, for some reason, they try to hurt you and give you as much time as they possibly can. They carried me in one time for interrogation and said, your daddy got a store, right? I said, yes. She said, he sells cigarette lighters. I said, yeah. I said, every store I go in sells cigarette lighters. I said, I see where you're going. I said, but I am not going to incriminate my dad like you trying to get me to do. She said, if you don't say what I want you to say, you're going to do life. I said, well, I'll just have to do it because there's no way that you would ever get me to say anything against my family. She wanted me to say something, not truth, but to lie and fabricate things to make him look guilty. And she said she would help me. And I could not believe that they would come at me with something like that.
Well, they just basically do whatever they want to do.
They do. But I almost lost my mind in county jail.
Wow. Those words just stayed with me. I almost lost my mind. When we're battling something in our mind, we are fighting for our lives. Our minds are so powerful. Our thoughts are so powerful. And I think about when Gene Jr. said that, I mean, it really touched me because our thoughts control how we feel, how we think, what we do. It is so important. So I want to say this. When we are battling something, if we can give our thoughts to God, and trust me, it is not easy. I can say this, but it's just something that you have to just do. You have to just do, and you have to fight. Like I said, it is a battle. But we give our thoughts to God, and we just say, God, take over our thinking, take over our thoughts. He will transform our thoughts and change our thinking. And when he changed our thinking, when God get a hold of us, that's when we begin to see his purpose and his will. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Get ready for part 3. It's going to be so powerful. See you later. E.H.A.U.S. Bye-bye.